You know, people think the hardest part of getting old is the pain. The knees, the back, the way your hands shake when you try to pour your morning coffee without spilling. But that's not it. That's not even close to it. The hardest part of getting old is becoming quiet in other people's lives. You become background noise, a name they mean to call, a face they plan to visit, someday, soon, when things slow down, when work settles, when the kids aren't so busy with school. Someday never seems to come. See this chair right here? I sit in it every single morning, right next to that window. Not because I love what's out there, not because the view is anything special, and for a long, long time, I kept believing with everything in me that I'd see their cars coming up that road. My son's old truck kicking up dust. My daughter's little blue sedan pulling into the drive. Grandchildren bursting through the gate, running up the steps, arms wide open, hollering, "Grandma, Grandma, we're here." I held on to that picture. I nursed it like a fire. But the seasons kept changing anyway. Leaves turned gold and fell. Snow buried the yard and then melted away. Birds came back in spring. Summer stretched on long and hot, and that road stayed empty. Now I am 95 years old, 95. And let me tell you something that might settle in your chest like a stone. Being forgotten by strangers hurts. It leaves a bruise. But being forgotten by your own blood, that cuts different. That wound doesn't heal the same way. I raised 3 children in a 2-room house. 2 rooms. We were on top of each other every waking hour, and somehow we made it feel like enough. I stitched their clothes by lamplight when my eyes were already tired. I skipped meals more times than I could count, so their plates stayed full, and they never once had to go to bed hungry. I held fevers through the night, sat on the edge of small beds whispering, "It's okay, it's okay, it's okay," until the sun came up. I buried their father. I stood at that grave and I made a silent promise that I would not break. Not in front of them, not while they still needed me to be the solid ground beneath their feet. I kept that promise. I gave them my youth. I gave them my strength. I gave them everything that lived inside me between the ages of 20 and 70. Every good year, every ounce of energy I had, every dream I quietly folded up and put away because there were mouths to feed and a family to hold together. And now I am lucky if the phone rings on my birthday. Lucky. Sometimes it's just a text, a message from a number I have to squint to read anymore. Happy birthday, Mom, with a little red heart at the end. That tiny red heart doing all the heavy lifting of a relationship. I don't say that to shame them. I say it because I know you understand it. I know some of you hearing this right now carry this same quiet. You walk through your own house and the air feels still in a way it didn't used to. You pass rooms that used to breathe, rooms that used to be loud and full and messy, and now they just sit there, tidy and silent. You open the refrigerator and realize you don't know what to cook anymore because you're only cooking for one. You pick up the phone. You scroll through the contacts until you find their name. You press call, and when it goes to voicemail, you soften your voice just a little. You make yourself sound lighter than you feel, because you don't want to come across as needy. You don't want to be a burden. Hi, sweetheart. Just wanted to hear your voice. Call me back when you get a chance. Then you hang up, and you wait, and you wait some more, and you find yourself checking that phone like it might bloom like a flower if you look at it long enough. I know that feeling. I lived inside that feeling for years. Well, today I want to share with you what I finally learned at 95 years old. And I won't dress it up to make it easier, because you deserve the honest version. Stop waiting. Yes, I mean that. Stop sitting by that window waiting for children who have learned, whether they meant to or not, how to live their lives without you in the center of them. Because every single day you spend arranged around their absence, watching that road, hoping today will be different. You hand them another piece of your dignity without them even asking for it. I did this for years, more years than I want to admit. I sat in this very chair watching that road, like a lighthouse standing in the dark, sending out light for ships that weren't coming. Then one morning, I caught my own reflection in the window glass, and I didn't see a mother looking back at me. I didn't see a woman who had survived wars and funerals and hunger and loss and decades of hard living. I saw someone who looked abandoned, someone who had made herself small and still and patient, waiting for permission to feel whole again. And that image shook something loose in me, because I realized clearly, like cold water, that they hadn't forgotten me all at once. There was no single moment, no decision, no morning they woke up and chose to leave me behind. They forgot me slowly, gradually, naturally, the way people drift when life fills up with its own noise, while I remembered them completely. Every birthday, every milestone, every small thing they'd mentioned in passing months ago. I was holding on with both hands while they had already let go. So I made a decision. At 95 years old, I decided to stop arranging my life around their absence. I stopped saving up funny stories to tell them someday. Stopped cooking meals that sat on the stove waiting for guests who never knocked. Stopped rehearsing conversations in my head. Conversations I'd been meaning to have for years. Conversations that lived only inside me. I put the phone down. I stopped watching the road. And then something happened that surprised me. The house stayed quiet. I won't pretend it didn't. That silence didn't disappear. But something inside me shifted. The emptiness I'd been carrying, that hollow, waiting feeling, it started to ease, because here is the truth that nobody tells old people. Nobody sits them down and says this plainly. When family drifts away, you don't have to disappear along with them. Their absence is not a sentence. It is not the end of your story. So I changed my life. At 95, I changed my life. I started small, the way all real change starts. I planted flowers along the fence outside, not because anyone was coming to admire them, not for grandchildren or visitors or anyone at all. I planted them because every morning I would see them, and they would be beautiful, and that was reason enough. I started baking again, not for family dinners that never happened. I baked for my neighbors, for the mailman who always had a kind word, for the young couple down the road who moved here far from their own families and didn't have anyone nearby to feed them something made with love. I walked into the senior center I had been ignoring for years, the one I always said I'd visit but never did. And I found women in there who knew exactly what empty Sundays sound like. Women who had also spent years waiting by their own windows. We laughed together. We told our stories. We reminded each other of who we had been before we became optional in other people's schedules. And slowly, not all at once, but slowly, I stopped measuring my worth by who showed up at my door. I started measuring it by how alive I felt when I opened my eyes in the morning. Now hear me clearly, because this next part matters. Sometimes, when you stop waiting, they come back. Something shifts. Curiosity stirs in them. Maybe guilt. Maybe they simply notice the silence where your hoping used to be. And they come. And when they do, they don't find a woman hollowed out by waiting. They find someone blooming, someone alive, someone who doesn't need rescuing. And that changes everything between you. But I have to be honest with you about the other possibility too. Sometimes they don't come back. Sometimes they stay distant and busy and wrapped up in lives that have simply moved on. And if that is your story, if that is the truth you're living, you must still choose life. You must still plant something, still bake something, still laugh with whoever is standing near you today. Because your life was never meant to stop just because someone stopped showing up to witness it. I am 95 years old. My children rarely come. My phone is quiet more days than not. But tomorrow morning I will water my roses. I will drink tea on this porch and feel the air on my face. I will wave at cars passing on that road, that same road I used to watch with such longing. I will live in a world that is still wide enough for me. If they wish to return, my door is open. It will always be open. But I am no longer sitting by the window waiting, and neither should you.